Hey, good morning, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Unlocked. I'm Tracy Wilson, and it is a glorious day here on the Gold Coast. The sun is shining, we have blue sky out and about, so I think it's going to be a fantastic weekend. Today, I want to talk about what are some of the ways that you can actually go about getting really good guests onto your show. So whether you do a show or whether you do a podcast, if you're sitting right now thinking, man, I would like to have a show or a podcast, and maybe I would, I've got a thought that I might like to even interview some people, but where the heck can I find the people to interview? Then today's show is going to be right up your alley, because that's exactly what I'm going to talk about. I'm going to give you 10 of the top and the easiest ways to actually be able to find really good guests to be on your show. So, like I said, if you're right now thinking, gosh, I want to create my own show, or you even got one, maybe there's a couple of different ways that you can actually run your show, right? So one is that you do a solo show. So often on a Friday, I'm running solo. I do a show all on my own. Or if you tune into Unlocked on Wednesdays, you'll see that I have a guest on my Wednesday show. So I'm going to uncover and unlock for you today kind of the 10 top ways that we go about finding guests for all of our shows. And these are going to be really simple, and I want to, down the track, probably later on this afternoon, I'm actually going to make you guys a cheat sheet so that you'll be able to go to my website and be able to download it, and it will give you these top 10 ways so that you can use that cheat sheet to be able to kind of refer to on a regular basis and say, I need to find myself some guests. What can I do and where can I go, and how can I go about finding really good guests to get on my show? Firstly, before I kind of jump into what these top 10 things are, I want to cover this off, because often this is the thing that holds a lot of people back from doing a show, is like they don't know where to find people. So I'm going to knock that out of the road and give you these top 10 things so that you can really move forward and actually start your own show and or podcast really, really quickly. And why I say and or podcast, because the way in which we teach inside of our program called the Influence and Authority Method is we actually teach you how to do one thing that knocks all of those over. What I mean by that is you're going to create a show that you're then able to turn into a podcast, that you're then able to turn into a YouTube channel, and so on and so forth. And all your other social media content will be driven by the one thing that you do, which will be your show. So in my books, the show becomes a really important piece of your marketing puzzle, and enabling you to create really great content, but also be able to do it in a really punchy way, and in a way that's not going to take up and suck up all of your time, because I've been there, done that, and I don't want to go back there again. So this method for me works brilliantly, as it does for many, many of our students. So I'm going to kind of unlock a few of these things for you today, so that you too can get your show up and running, and all your podcasts, like I said, but our preferred method is that you do a show, because you can then turn the show into a podcast. You can't often go the other way around. So if you think about this, I've got video here, and then I'm able to just strip the audio out and turn it into a podcast. You kind of can't go the other way around. You can't create an audio podcast and then turn it into a video. So hence the reason that I am a big fan of doing it this way. Now, let's kind of get stuck into a few of these, and why, as a host, booking guests onto your show can actually be one of the greatest things that you can do. Why? Because it brings a fresh approach. It also enables you to tap into, other experts' knowledge, expertise, their experience, their tools and resources, and it enables you to be able to bring that to your shows, and being able to add kind of that next dimension or another dimension and some variety to the episodes that you are creating. And obviously it brings a completely different perspective, because you've got somebody else on your show that is bringing their thoughts, their processes, and their perspectives to your show, and being able to share those with your audience, as well as their expert commentary and advice. And often it will also give some beef to your show. So it's going to create, if you get the right influencers and the right people actually on your show as guests, then of course it's going to create a really good impression for your listeners, and also bringing a certain level of legitimacy to your show and to your podcast, and also enabling you to build a really strong reputation within that genre, which is absolutely what you want to do. You want to build your influence, you want to build your authority. And if you get the wrong guests on your show, sometimes that can actually, well, going to have two things are going to happen. Either it is going to increase the reputation and the legitimacy of your show, or it's going to decrease it. So you want to make sure that you get some really good guests on that are in alignment with the way that you think, the way in which you do things, but also obviously bringing their fresh approach and perspective to the way in which they do things. Secondly, it's also going to give you an opportunity, again, if you tap into the right type of influencers and guests for your show, it gives you another way of being able to expose yourself to a different audience. So you can have this kind of what we call the cross-pollination process happening. So I have a guest on the show. Of course, they're going to be promoting the fact that they're on the Unlock show, and all of their listeners and their followers are potentially going to listen to that show, and just maybe they may also become followers and listeners of the Unlock show. So really important process, this process of actually having guests on your show. But equally, you may decide that you want to, I'm not going to say to you, hey, don't do it if you're not going to have guests on your show. I think you should speak, unlock yourself and speak your truth and go out there and share your expertise and your knowledge with the world. And this is a great way to do it. But like I've said, this particular show today is about how you can get some awesome guests on your show. So let's get kicked in and start talking about kind of the first way or the first method that you can use to get really great guests on your show. So you want to think about, some guests that may have recent publications or recent programs or new services that they are bringing to the market. Those guys are going to be the ones that are eager to get their message out there. They're going to be eager to tell people about, the book that they've just written. So like this book here, right? So when we wrote the She-Myth book, we wanted to be on other people's guests, other people's podcasts and other people's shows so that we could tell people about the She-Myth book. There are hundreds and thousands of people out there in the same boat. So how do you go and find them? Well, the easiest way to do this is to actually go to Amazon. So if you head on over to Amazon.com and you go and have a look in the book section and you just go to the new releases section, that's going to give you a list of all the different new releases. And of course, you're going to narrow it down to the niche market that you are working in. So if it's business, you'll go to business. If it's spirituality, you'll go to spirituality. If it's travel, go to travel, so on and so forth. You kind of get the gist of what I'm talking about. But you're going to go to Amazon. You're going to type into the search bar that particular niche, and you're going to be looking for new releases. That's going to give you a huge amount of information and opportunity to potentially reach out to that author or to that publishing house and offer for that author to be on your show. So they're usually, an author is a subject matter expert on that particular topic. They've written about it. They'll have loads and loads of content that they can share with you, and they will be usually happy and eager to jump on a podcast or on a show and share their expertise and share their excitement about their new book. They want to do that because it's a great way of them being able to add another layer of promotion to get more eyes and more sales on their book. That would be the first way. Go over to Amazon, look for new releases, and then start reaching out to the authors and or their publisher to offer them an opportunity to be on your show. The next way that we're going to reach out to people, so the first is obviously that Amazon. The next is cross-promote with other content creators. So there's loads and loads and loads of people out there doing shows, doing podcasts, creating blogs, creating content for on all sorts of different mediums. And you want to be able to reach out to them and also offer them the opportunity to be on your show. So for example, if there's somebody who's created a blog, maybe they've got thousands and thousands of followers that actually read their blog. By introducing them or giving them the opportunity to be on your show and interviewing them about whatever the subject matter is, their specific area of expertise that is in alignment with your show, then of course, again, that gives you another great way of being able to tap into another audience. But then also, secondly, it's going to give you the opportunity to be able to find these people through doing this activity. So I want you to go to YouTube, and again, you're going to type in the same thing. You're going to go to the search bar, and you're going to type in your genre and your niche, and you're going to find different people who already, maybe they've got a YouTube channel, or maybe they've got a blog. So Google and YouTube are going to be some of your best friends when it comes to trying to find these guests. So go to those places, filter the channel by relevance, and you are going to then try and find, again, people within that genre. So again, the example that I used earlier, in business or spirituality or travel or whatever the case may be, again, you're going to type that in and you're going to find those people. And again, you are going to reach out to them and offer them the opportunity to be a guest on your show. This also works with other podcast hosts too. So you could go and actually go into iTunes or even to some of the really popular podcast platforms. And again, type in the genre that you are in, and then have a look and see what guests are who are the hosts of those particular shows. And again, invite them to be a guest on your show. All of these things that I'm talking about today give you a fantastic way of being able to cross-pollinate, being able to, tap into that influencer's audience and vice versa. So these are really nice win-win and a synergy that can be created by inviting them to your show. The next way that you can do it, and probably not so much these days, but I'm still going to add it to the list, is actually meeting potential guests in real life. So, back pre-COVID, we were able to go to conference after conference after conference, and you would meet loads and loads of people there. Not so much these days. However, doing it from an online, going to events online is still another great way of being able to connect with people. So whether you're inside of programs, or you're on Facebook, or you're going to live seminars, then that's another great way of being able to connect with those hosts, but also other people who are also there as students or as guests of those particular platforms. That way, again, you can reach out to some of those and ask them to also be a guest on your show. And again, like I said, you could go to Google and you can start typing in, like different conferences. So you could go and type in, spirituality conference or mindfulness conference or social media conference, and actually find a whole lot of different conferences that are being run in those particular genres. And if they're not doing them in person now, more than likely they'll also have a link to what they have pivoted to and have started doing those online. So another great way of you being able to tap into those audiences. For some of you, you may also be familiar with the platform Meetup. So if you are on Meetup, or even if you're not on Meetup, you could go to meetup.com and again do a search in that particular space, and again find the genres that you are the expert in, and then again reach out to those people who have got meetup groups being run, and you can join their meetup group, or even reach out to them and also ask them to be a guest on your show. I've already covered this one off in a little bit of detail, but it's like connecting with guests in online communities. So there are hundreds of thousands of Facebook groups available. People are running them on the daily, and there's brand new ones popping up every single day. Every minute of every day, there's new group being created. So you're going to go to the search engine in Facebook, and you again are going to type in specific groups. So again, you might be looking for, how to create a show. It might be on how to, how to build a Facebook group. Whatever your genre is, go and look for those. And when you get to that, when you go into Facebook and you're looking in, you're typing that in the search engine, it's going to give you some categories. So it will give you posts, people, groups, so on and so forth. What you want to do is you want to click on the one that says groups. So I can see a lot of people that are joining me this morning. So I want to say good morning to you all. I can see you guys typing feverishly in the comments to me and saying, wow, that's a great idea. So go to Facebook, type in the search engine, type in the search section, and then you want to go to the tab that says groups. That's going to bring you up all the different groups that are in that particular genre based on the keywords that you have put into the search bar. So type those in, and then you can go and have a look at the different groups and go and join some of them and just start being an active member within those groups. And then, of course, at the right time, you can then also reach out to the group owners and ask them to be a podcast guest, or you just make yourself known and start being, as I said, an active member of those groups. And you will also find other active members within those groups who may also be fantastic guests to be on your show. Okay, the next one is like asking your guest for referrals. Now, this is a huge one, and often it's kind of like it feels like it should be really, really obvious, but a lot of the time people miss this. So, if you've got a guest that's appeared on your show, another fantastic way for you to be able to get other guests on your show is by asking them for referrals. They more than likely know other people who have shows, who have podcasts, because they will be mixing in those same sort of circles, like-minded people. So you want to make sure that you're mixing and mingling in those groups, but you also want to ask your existing guests, hey, you've been on my show today. You were absolutely fantastic. Is there anybody else that you know that would make a fantastic guest to be on the Unlock show? And more often than not, they would say, absolutely. Often on the Unlock show, that's how I get my next guest. I ask my existing guests, who do you know? Who in your circle of influence do you know that would be a fantastic guest to speak on this particular subject matter? And they say, I know XYZ person. Hey, look, after the show, Trace, I will connect you with them. And they make an introduction for me, and off we go. And I add them to my show calendar. And usually by doing this process that I'm talking you guys through today, I've only got to number 5, but there are 10 different ways you should be able to fill your guest calendar, 6 months in advance easily by doing this. So if you're doing one show a week where you're having a guest on, you need to find 26 guests that would be potentials for your show, and you can start pre-booking them 6 months in advance. And that's actually another great way of being able to create some a level of influence and authority with your show, because people have to wait that amount of time to actually get on it. It provides there's a sense of urgency and a sense of of it being like, wow, to get on the show, I had to wait that long. So that's another great way of being able to increase the influence and the authority of your particular show. The next thing you want to do is you want to allow your guests to request to be on your show. So something for you to think about is actually creating a page on your website. So if you go to if you go to tracymwilson.com, you'll find a tab on my website that says the Unlock Show. And if you go there, there is a space that I've made available on my website that says, hey, do you want to be a guest on Tracy's show? Do you want to be a guest on Unlocked? Or do you want to be a guest on Take a Stand? And if you do, they can simply click a button and they enter their details, and that will then send me an email to say that I've got XYZ person interested in being a guest on my show. So it almost takes a lot of the heavy lifting away from you. You're able to create that on your website and then have guests actually request to be on your show. And again, another fantastic way of you being able to create an amazing list of potential guests. When you use this particular method, again, it's going to enable you to kind of filter through and say, well, what guest, who have I got that has requested to be on my show? Who would be amazing? Who would be amazing? And you can start moving them up the list. So I would absolutely use your own website to start creating an opportunity for people to request to be a guest on your show. The next thing that you could do, and this is tip number 7, is you could use a matchmaking service. There's a few of them out there that are available that are actually free. So Robin Helm has done a fantastic thing for me right now. She's actually put in the chat where you can go to be a guest on any one of our shows. And if you've been following me for a little while, you'll also know that not only do we in the Metadime network, so the Unlock show is actually part of a much bigger broadcasting network. We have a number of different shows that we produce and we manage on a regular basis. So if you actually head on over to metadimedigital.co, so META digital, DIGITAL, co.com, guest sponsor host. If you go to that website, you'll see guest sponsor host. You can actually apply to be on not only my show, but there's 4 or 5 different shows that you'll be able to apply to be a guest on. So if you're looking for some more exposure, you can head on over there and request be a guest. Okay, so let me get back to this topic at hand. So using a matchmaking service. So there's a few of them out there that are actually free. So there's one called Podcast Guest. So you can head on over to, Podmatch, and you can actually create a profile, and then you can have a look and see what is available. Podchaser is one that is free. Podmatch, there is some cost for that. So just suss the two of those out and see which ones are the most appropriate for you. But if you wanted to use a matchmaking service, there's plenty of them out there and that are available for you to be able to use. And also there's another one called Interview Connections. So again, use those and you will be able to find some amazing guests on there. The next thing that you can do, again, this is another one of those kind of like crazy, seems super, super simple, and you just saw me do it just then, is don't forget to ask your audience for ideas. So your audience, you could say to them, hey, who do you think would be a fantastic guest to be on the Unlock Show? Who would you like to hear from? And they will say to you, in fact, I'm going to ask you guys right now, who do you think would be absolutely awesome to be on the Unlock Show? I've got a number of names on my dream list of people that I would like to have on the show, but who do you guys think would be an amazing person for me to have on the Unlock Show and for me to be able to interview on the topic of living your life unlocked, being able to speak your truth, being able to set up a show and be able to speak about your expertise and your experience and your skills? Who do you know that is also really, really good at that? So let me know in the chat if there's somebody that you think would be amazing on the show, because I'll reach out to them and let's see if we can get them on. So that's the number 8, is to actually reach out or ask your guests or your audience for ideas as to who they think would be great on the show. The next one, and again, because we're in the online space, often we kind of have this blinker vision on and we think, hey, I've only got to reach out to people who are also in the online space. I'm going to say, not always. And that's often a mistake that we can make. So connecting with people who are not online, who are not in this realm and don't really have a show, they don't have a podcast, but they are very much experts or subject matter experts in their respective field. And again, you can use Google. Google can become your best friend with this. You can go to Google and you would be looking for example, you could type in professor of business, professor of sports, professor of whatever your niche is. Type that in and see who comes up. You can then reach out to them. Those guys are most likely to be on LinkedIn. So you could, once you've done a search in Google, you will probably find their LinkedIn profile. And again, you can reach out to them. Often these guys are sought out for being experts to be on traditional shows like radio and television shows. So sometimes they are really okay with doing the live, being guests on live shows. But equally, even if they're not, with your skill and your expertise, you'll be able to make them feel very comfortable in being a guest on your show. And you can tap in to their expertise, right? So use Google, type in professor of and whatever the subject matter is. And the 10th and last thing that you can do on my list of 10 great ways to get awesome guests on your show is to reach out via email and social media. What you want to do with this is you're going to start building yourself out a dream list. So we call it like a list of about 200 people on a list, and they're just kind of like all the people that I would absolutely love to have on my show. And over time, my production manager starts reaching out to them. They reach out to them and start sending them emails and also through social media. So you want to know a little bit about them. You want to make sure that you feel like that they're a good fit for your show, and then just start reaching out to them and telling them that, hey, you've got a show, you've been watching them, you would absolutely love to have them on your show, and then just sending them some information. One of the things that I would also recommend that you do, I mentioned having a way for them to be able to reach out to you via your website. But another thing that you want to do is you want to create yourself a media kit. So something that tells them a little bit about your show. Maybe it has a few episodes. And again, you can put this also on your website so that when you're reaching out to them, you can say, hey, and go here and you can see some of the previous guests that have been on my show. And if you put some really good, named guests, some really influential people on there, and they can see that you've had really good names on there, then they are likely to say yes. So I'm just going to recap for you really quickly the top 10 things that I think you can do and that we do to be able to enlist enlist those guests to be a guest on our show, here they are. Number one is to invite guests with recent and upcoming publications. Amazon is your friend there. Number two is cross-promote with other content creators. Number three is to meet potential guests in real life. So I know that's not always possible right now, but just think about who the people whom you have met in real life. Number four is connect with guests in online communities. Number five, reach out via social media, via email or social media. Number six, ask your guests for referrals. Number seven, allow your guests to request to be on your show via your website. Use a matchmaking services. Number eight, ask your audience for great ideas and then connect with offline experts is number 10. So there you have it. There's the top 10 ways to be able to find great guests for your show. So you should never be left kind of scratching your head wondering, man, how do I get these people on my show? That takes away all of the excuses. And I'm going to say, if you have guests on your show, you're also going to, it reduces the amount of work that you have to do, right? It means that you only have to talk about 10 to 15% of the time instead of for an entire 30 minutes like I have today. So there you go, guys. I wanted to share those top 10 things with you because today's show was all about unlocking those and taking away some of the barriers and some of the limiting beliefs that you might have yourself as to why you cannot start your own show or your own podcast. And if you want to do that and you want to do it well and you want some hand holding to do it, then the place to be is inside of the Influence and Authority Method program. And if you would like to know more about that, or you would like to watch a free training that we have available, you can head on over to influenceandauthoritymethod.com. Sign up right now, watch the free training that we've got, and then you too can decide whether or not this is the right platform for you to be able to share your expertise, your knowledge, and build yourself an audience whilst also increasing your influence and your authority in 2021. So I'm going to leave you guys with that, the 10 ways that we use to get guests on our shows. I want to say thank you very much for watching today, guys. I see all the comments that are coming through. I want to acknowledge all of them. Thank you very much for being an amazing guest and actually communicating with me and sharing the love. I love that you guys are here. And I want to say thank you very much for joining me. I'm going to be back again next Wednesday. So Wednesday and Friday are the days that you can see the Unlock show being recorded absolutely live. We are always here every single week on a Wednesday and a Friday, 10 a.m. Brisbane time. So I'll see you guys again on Wednesday when I'll have another amazing guest whom I will have found by using one of these 10 methods. So thanks for watching. Have an amazing week, and I'll see you again next week. Thanks, guys. Bye for now.